Whew. Wow. What a day. What a day in terms of news. There is so much to talk about and discuss, and probably be slightly aggravated by some of the comments in here, but that's all part of the game, right? Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Anthony Corona, here on Speaking of the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And as always, we are brought to you by nj.com. Go subscribe. Tons of articles and stories throughout the summer. Once the season kicks off, we're going to have a ton of stuff on there. Definitely go and subscribe. And without further ado, we'll start at the top. And some of you were here earlier today when this first broke. But the big news coming out of the day, and there was lots of it, and we're going to get to all of it. The first big thing, bang. Devils sign Anthony Mantha. I'm not going to spend too much time on this right now, but 2-year deal, $9.5 million, a cap hit of 4.75. I do think this was a very solid signing by Sonny Maeda. Under $5 million for a guy that potted 30 last year. And listen, I'll get into more of this later. I don't expect him to necessarily replicate that with the Devils, but I do think this is a good value signing with a lot of upside, and especially if he is that magical winger that could help Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt continue on the path that you're all hoping they go on, which is to become a dominant line and bring the New Jersey Devils some postseason success. A franchise that is so starved for a series win. We got fighting in the comments already. Gotta love it. And we'll see. Can he be that guy? Can Mantha be that guy? I posted on X. If you're not following me on X, follow me on X. His goals from last season. A lot of different types of finishes. Can score in tight. Net front guy. Could tip the puck. Clean up the trash. Rebounds. Has deceivingly good hands, I think. You see him on the rush finishing 2-on-1s. And obviously, he was the beneficiary of many sick passes from Gino Malkin. But I do think playing with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, he will get similar opportunities. Just got to be in the right place at the right time. Hold on, I'm just getting my TV set up here in the studio I want to make sure I don't miss anything from the leadoff into the espys. I'll get into all that in a little bit too. I think the fix is in, folks. I'll talk about more of that in a little bit, but let me just make sure I get this on here. Where the hell is ESPN? I don't even know what channel ESPN is anymore. Okay, the preview show starts at 7. Perfect. All right. Next bit of news. The home opener was revealed, and I thought it was supposed to be part of the tie-in. Let me put the part of the tie-in for the ESPN pre-ESPY show, but it came out early today, and there it is. Devils to host 26-27 home opener on October 1st against the Flyers from Amanda Stein on the Devils website. Mark your calendars because of the date and the opponent for the Devils 26-27 season home opener presented by Citizens. On Thursday, October 1st, the New Jersey Devils will open their home schedule with a matchup against division rivals, the Philadelphia Flyers. It won't be long until you have your entire calendar. The full schedule drops tomorrow. Obviously, I'll be back to talk about that. The Flyers, not really sure what to expect out of them this season, but the Devils got to win a lot more divisional games than they did last year. Terrible against the Metro. If they are going to be the playoff team you're all hoping for, they must do much better against division foes. That certainly includes the Philadelphia Flyers. And if a lot of people from out of the area have messaged me over the last, I would say, year or so, and a lot of people always ask, like, oh, what's a good game to go to? And I would say, they're always the same type of answers I give. Obviously, Devils Rangers is one that if you've never witnessed that matchup live, that's always a great one. But outside of that, the home opener to me is always a great game to go to, obviously. The building usually packed, everyone fired up, a new season, hope restored, clean slate, a fresh beginning, a new beginning, and optimism for everyone, the players, the fans. And in the last several years, and I would have to imagine that it will continue this year, the Devils have done a really cool red carpet kind of arrival. The players pull up, they walk the red carpet, take pictures with fans, they sign autographs. It's a little chaotic, but there's no way around it. It's just tons of people, and they have the barricade set up. And I'll show you a couple clips. Let's see if these work from the red carpet. If you haven't been to a home opener and you're into this sort of thing, I think red carpet is pretty cool. Yeah, it looks like it's going to freeze. Perfect. Yeah, I hate technology. That was Jesper Bratt signing on the carpet. There's Jack Hughes. Nico Hischier. It looks like they're just loading in. Yeah. All right. Videos are terrible. But anyway, they walk the red carpet. They take pictures, sign the autographs. It's a whole thing. Pretty cool. So if you are looking for a game to attend, or you only attend 1 or 2 a year, obviously the home opener is always one that I recommend to people just because it is, it's a big event. It's a soiree. They have the fan fest outside. There's a band. Pretty cool. Highly recommended. So if you've never been to one of those, I would say if you're looking to figure out a game to go to, the home opener is usually a pretty solid one. And then the next bit of news, a lot of people waiting on this. We have some, coaching staff changes. Devils announced additions to coaching development staff. And here you have Leo Luongo, Ted Donato, AJ McLean, and Dan Stewart. I'm not going to read all this, but the Devils today announced the club has named Leo Luongo director of goaltending and adding Ted Donato and AJ McLean as assistant coaches and Dan Stewart as a goaltending coach to complete Sheldon Keefe's coaching staff. The announcements were made by general manager Sonny Mehta. Luongo now oversees all goaltending development and reports to executive vice president of hockey operations, the GOAT, Martin Brodeur. He will work with New Jersey Devils goaltending coach Dan Stewart, Utica goaltending coach Brian Eklund, and New Jersey's head amateur goalie scout and development coach Manny Legacy, while monitoring the organization's current and potential future goaltenders. Additionally, he will work with New Jersey's professional and amateur scouting staffs on identifying talent while working with the team's current draft picks and prospects. Luongo, 41, spent the past 10 seasons with the Florida Panthers organization at both the American Hockey League and NHL levels, which included player development and goaltending coaching. His tenure with Florida began in the AHL with Springfield and then Charlotte, where he served as the team's goaltending coach from 16-17 through 23-24. And it goes on with a bunch of more of his background. But obviously a guy Sonny Mehta was very familiar with and identified him as a guy he wanted on his staff. And here he is. We continue to see the organization from executive level to coaches to players on the ice, all being slowly morphed into the Sonny Mehta vision. Then we get to Ted Donato. Donato, 57, joins New Jersey after spending 22 seasons as head coach at Harvard University. Donato earned 334 career wins at the National Collegiate Athletic Association level with Harvard, the most all-time by a head coach in the program's history. The Boston, Massachusetts native led Harvard to 8 NCAA tournament appearances, a Frozen Four berth in 16-17, and 4 ECAC hockey titles. Harvard most recently won the ECAC hockey title in 21-22. Donato also led Harvard to a Beanpot title in 16-17, marking the program's first win in the annual tournament since 92-93. It goes on to give you his bio. He played at Harvard, obviously had a pretty good NHL career, played almost 800 games. And he is now departed from Harvard for the big leagues. Will be part of Sheldon Keefe's staff as an assistant coach. And then we get to AJ McLean. McLean, 42, had served as assistant coach with Tampa Bay's American Hockey League affiliate in Syracuse since 23-24. Syracuse clinched the Calder Cup playoff berth in all 3 seasons during McLean's tenure and won the AHL championship in 2018. Before his stint in Syracuse, McLean was an assistant coach in the AHL for Toronto from 15-16 until the end of the 22-23 campaign. He was a member of New Jersey's current head coach Sheldon Keefe's staff in the AHL with Toronto from 15-16 until 2019-20. Toronto won 3 North Division championships during McLean's tenure with the team and won the Calder Cup in 2018. He also served as Keefe's assistant with the Sioux Greyhounds of the Ontario Hockey League for 2 seasons, 2013-14 and 14-15. So clearly a guy identified by Sheldon Keefe. He's worked with him over the years in both the OHL and the AHL. And this may be the first time bear with me one second. This could be the first time that Sheldon Keefe is able to maybe bring in some more of his own people. In the past, a lot of people had speculated that maybe he was slightly handcuffed by Tom Fitzgerald. We don't know if that's true or not, but the opportunity has arose for him to bring in some more of his own people. And it certainly seems like this is one of those moves. So we'll see how that pans out. And then lastly, Dan Stewart. Stewart spent the last 6 seasons with the St. Louis Blues organization, serving as both the goaltending development coach of the Blues and the goaltending coach for the Springfield Thunderbirds of the American Hockey League. His responsibilities included working with the team's AHL goalies and traveling to support St. Louis's goaltending prospects, including those in the ECHL and drafted picks playing across North America. His development work while with Springfield included working with current and former NHL netminders Joel Hofer, Colton Ellis, Malcolm Subban, Garrett Sparks, and Charlie Lindgren. And then he also was with the Sioux Greyhounds in the OHL. Blah, blah, blah. And there is the replacement for Dave Rogalski, a man that many people have called for the head of, I would say, for probably several years. And I've always defended him with just a little bit, just because I do think a lot of times people tend to give too much blame to positional type coaches. And I certainly understand, where it all came from. Obviously, goaltending has been a pain point, or mostly a pain point, I should say, for the Devils since the great Martin Brodeur departed the organization. I mean, there's been a rotisserie of guys over the years. And outside of that couple years of Corey Schneider, there wasn't really much positive to talk about in terms of goaltending. And a lot of people were down on Rogalski for it. I think personally it was more of a function of just simply not having great goaltenders for the majority of that time period. But people wanted to see a change. There it is. Rogalski moved on, I don't know, a month or so ago. Summertime is, the weeks, months flying by here as we approach the season. But Rogalski gone, Stewart's in, so we will see if there's anything positive in the goaltending department. Obviously, heading into the season as it stands right now, with a group of 3 goaltenders: Nico Dawes, Jake Allen, and Rittich. And we'll see how that all plays out. That is certainly an interesting one. I think a lot of people were still expecting some sort of big name goalie brought in. I personally do not see that happening. But you never know. Sonny is a pro poker player. I think a lot of his moves people have not really seen coming. And I think he likes to kind of operate in the shadows and in the silence. I think, he's not really tipping his hand. I don't think many people saw Anthony Mantha coming. I did have him on my list of potential targets even before free agency opened. And I think, as I talked about earlier, that it's a very good, low risk, high reward signing. He signed for 2 years, $4.75 million cap hit. And we'll see. A lot of people were like, oh, he's a middle six. And, there is that group of people that want nothing short of the huge names. They want the superstars, Robertson, this guy, Hellebuck, and I get it. Obviously, fans of every team would love to see superstar players brought in. But I do think there is a path to improving this team without that. Obviously, the more the merrier. If you could get a guy like Robertson, sure. Who wouldn't sign up for that, right? But so far, you've seen some tweaks. The superstar player was not brought in, but I would say Mantha is for this contract, low risk, high reward. If he could stick in the top 6, I think he's going to have a decent year. And I do think he could complement Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt very well. If he is the third guy on that line, watch the goals from last year. has some nice finish, gets to the front of the net, can tip the puck, rebounds, whacking home loose pucks, has nice finish when he has space, rips it from the slot. He scores in all different types of ways, and I do think the New Jersey Devils have missed just kind of like a net front beast, like someone who's just going to get there, go to the dirty areas, and just find pucks and put them in the back of the net. I think Mantha could fit the bill, but I certainly understand that, you know, for some of you, still want to see more. And again, the thing I will continue to say is that it is now July 15th. There was people freaking out on July 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Like, there's still plenty of off season ahead, still plenty of ways to, you know, fortify this roster and add pieces before the season starts. And we'll see how it all shakes out. But it's July 15th, folks. I personally don't anticipate any of these blockbuster moves that many of you are clamoring for, but I certainly don't think it's impossible. And I'll get to all that in a little bit. You guys are crazy in the comments. We look at Mantha's stats again. Last season, and listen, I'll address, you know, I see some of the detractors saying, oh, he can't stay healthy, and that's obviously been a concern throughout his career. And, you know, adding him to a team that has been ravaged by injuries over the last few seasons is certainly worrisome. But, you know, what are you going to do? If he can stay healthy, he should be a solid pickup for Sonny Maeda and the Devils. But certainly there is a health concern surrounding him. You can't deny that. And in terms of repeating last year, maybe not. Obviously, playing 81 games is going to help you have a career year. And then playing with guys like Malkin for stretches of time are going to help you as well. But in the 81 games last year, 33 goals, 31 assists, 64 points. 33 goals would have led the New Jersey Devils last season, folks. Led the New Jersey Devils. I forget. Was it 27 or 28 Nico had? Devils failed to have a 30-goal scorer last year. Nico had 28, Jack with 27, Timo 24, Bratt with 22, Dawson Mercer with 20. So they had 5 20-goal scorers, 0 30-goal scorers. His 33 goals would have led the team, and his 64 points would have been 4th, just behind Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier. So, big body, 6'5", 240, has a scoring knack. I'm not going to say he's going to be lighting it up, or I'm not even going to predict that he will hit 30 goals again. But if he plays in the top 6, and especially I think if he plays with Jack and Bratt for most of the season, I don't think 30 goals is out of the question. I think it is possible. I do think you could pretty much sign him up for 20 to 25 and probably about 50 points. I know for $4.75 million, I would say that's a pretty solid signing by Sonny Maeda. I'm going to get to the comments in a minute. Let me just see what else I have here. Even though I've talked about how much of a cesspool I think it is at times. Follow your boy on X at @NJD. It's pinned in the chat. I'm gonna drop it. I just dropped it in the chat again right now. Follow me on X. Follow me on the Instagram. I'll drop that. I'm gonna drop that in the chat as well. Get that out of the way. Obviously, subscribe to the channel if you're not. Put on the notifications, all that fun stuff. Appreciate all of you guys, especially the ones coming out in the dog days of summer. And I have a crazy theory. I'm going to get to that in 1 minute. Let me do one more thing. Jack Hughes, up for the ESPY for best play. Up for the ESPY for best play, and in a fair and righteous world, he would run away with the award, in my opinion. But we don't live in a fair or righteous world. But he's up for best play. Fellow golden goal scorer Megan Keller up for her golden goal. Then you have the UConn buzzer beater to get to the Final Four. Braylon Mullins, the OG Anunoby tip. Caleb Williams, 4th down game tying TD. The ESPYs are going live at 8 p.m. Right now they have on the pre-show or whatever here. And yeah, I mean, if this was a legitimate award show, Jack Hughes would win handily. After seeing some more things today, I said a couple days ago, I had a sneaking suspicion that they were going to give it to the OG Anunoby tip. And listen, it is a great play. But the reality is, it didn't even win that game, and it was game 4 of the finals. Huge moment. I'm not trying to detract from it in any way. It was a great play, great finish to a game. The Knicks were a great story. I get all that. But in the end, the Spurs still had an offensive possession after he had the tip, and they didn't score. So ultimately, that was the game-winning play. But it didn't end the game on the spot, and it didn't clinch a title. It gave them a 3-1 series lead after the next play that the Spurs. Again, not trying to take anything away from it. I think it was an unbelievable play, but it's not a golden goal. So we're going to see. Hopefully, somehow, the betting markets and everybody else saying that Anunoby is going to get it is wrong, and somehow Jack gets it. But I do think now, especially after doing a little bit more looking at some certain things, I do think they're going to give it to him, and it's a damn shame. I think it's a crime against the sport of hockey, to be honest. A crime against the sport of hockey. All right, I'm going to get into the comments in a minute. One more thing, so I have to address. A lot of you are still underwhelmed, and I know Mr. White is in here. What's up, Mr. White? Is one of those people. The first thing I'm going to say to that is, again, it's July 15th. Let's wait and see how the rest of the offseason plays out. Still plenty of time. And again, I'm not predicting that there's going to be this monster move that so many of you are clamoring for, but you never know. You never know. But I'm going to get a little conspiratorial for a minute. I'm going to get slightly conspiratorial here and just thinking out loud. And I don't even like to talk about like the rumor mill stuff all the time, but sometimes I feel like you got to. And I have to say, if you had told me at any point prior to July, whether you go back to February, March, at any point, if you had told me on July 15th that Quinn Hughes still would not have signed an extension, I probably would have been shocked, because I had long stated that I thought he was going to stay in mini, and he still very well may, right? But hear me out for a minute. Just thought that it would have been done in the first few days. I mean, July 1 was now 2 weeks ago. And the reality is, from a Devils perspective, I could see the Quinn extension not being in place as of yet, potentially holding up other potential deals. Because if you remember, once upon a time, going back to last season, the Quinn Hughes deal was essentially gift wrapped on a platter. And Tom Fitzgerald was not prepared in the moment and allowed Billy Guerin in the Wild to swoop in and steal Quinn Hughes. And so, hear me out. He still may sign in Minnesota. And if I had to bet on it, I would still say that he does. But the fact that it's not done yet, it says something. I mean, what is the holdup? It's just very odd to me that it hasn't happened yet. You know, July 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Now you're talking about 2 full weeks after it could have happened. And then there was a lot of weird reports out there. Oh, they just didn't get to it yet. And, you know, and all this possibly propaganda at this point. I don't know what to believe, but, you know, the owner was on record saying it's done, and all the reporters, and even Friedman, who's super obviously tied into everybody, was reporting he expected the 3-year deal. And so now when you look at July 15th and it's still not done, if you're Sonny Maeda, obviously that's on his radar. I mean, let's be real. If the extension is not going to happen, Billy Guerin has very limited options at that point. You either go into the season without him having a deal, which I think would be kind of nutty, or you trade him to the Devils, who would give you the best package you're going to get, because other teams are not going to pay through the nose for a guy that they at that point would know if Guerin's trading him that he's not signing an extension pretty much anywhere, and he is determined to go to the Devils. So at that point, their largest return would be from the Devils, because obviously if the Devils got him, he's, whether he signs, whether they do a sign and trade beforehand or he gets traded to the Devils and then extends with them, either way, he would be at that point looking to be a Devil long-term, obviously. So the value to the Devils would be higher than any other team. I do think potential contenders would still pay a decent price, even for a straight 1-year rental of him, if they really thought that getting Quinn Hughes would put them over the top and really put them in a position to contend for the Cup. But even a team like that, there's a limit on what you're going to pay for 1 year of a guy. And so I have to believe at this point, there is still a chance that he's not going to sign the extension and then kind of put Guerin in a tough spot. And so I do think there is a potential, again, this is me just speculating, there is a potential world where Sonny Meta is not bringing in maybe one of these, more expensive big time players, and also using, assets to acquire that player, because until the Quinn thing is settled, there's still like a little pulse, right? There's still a hope alive. Like there's still a little heartbeat of like, maybe this could happen. And so I don't think he ever wants to be caught in a position where he gets that phone call and cannot make the deal, either due to cap space or had already used assets in another deal. And so I do think that there is a pretty good chance that this is potentially holding up other things. I just was thinking about this the other day, and it until the extension is signed, you'd have to believe there's at least a small chance. I mean, I was at, less than 1%, I would say, a few weeks ago. And with each passing day that the extension is not in place, I have to give it slightly more of a chance. And again, I'm still predicting he signs in Minnesota. But the fact that it has not happened yet, I could totally see this being a thing. Kind of keeping the Devils potentially from making big moves until they know that that's put to bed and is no longer an option. Because until he signs, there's still a hope from the organization standpoint that this could happen, and he doesn't want to get caught like Fitz did. Didn't have the cap space. There's tons of stories out there on whatever you believe or not. I will firmly always believe that the deal was not made because he could not free up the cap space in time with all the trade protected contracts he gave out. And he probably got the call from Rutherford and the Canucks much sooner than he anticipated. And when he had to quickly move money out, he just didn't have a path to do it. And then Billy G and the Wild swooped in. And so, again, this is a little bit of a crazy theory of mine, but I think there could be something to it. And without further delay, we get to the comments. Oh, the comments. I'm a little bit afraid. TJ Case, I was saying avoid Mantha, that he could be a 1-year wonder, but that cheap 2-year contract is a steal, A+ move. No, absolutely. I would not have liked the signing as much if it was like 6.5 or 6.3. AFP Analytics, I mentioned this earlier, and they're pretty accurate or pretty close anyway with a lot of the contract predictions that they do. And they had Mantha doing signing a 4-year deal. Let me pull it up here. This might be one of the ones that they've been most, or at least the ones I've been looking at. This might be the prediction that they were most off on. But overall, they do a very good job. I'm going to pull this up for you guys. I should have clipped it earlier. Yeah, so they had a 4-year projected deal at $6.35 million. So obviously on a 2-year deal, you would expect the cap hit to come down a bit. You know, as these contracts get longer, these guys are obviously very aware the cap is going up. And so if you want them long-term, you're going to have to pay a little bit more on an annual basis, higher cap hit. But for 2 years at, what is that, 1.6 million or so less than the projection, I think that was a nice move by Sonny Meta. And I do think that a lot of teams probably had the kind of same reservations that many of you are expressing in terms of like, oh, was he a one-hit wonder? Can he do that again? It was a career year. He's never going to do it again. And so probably super disappointing to him that he did not get a deal kind of in the ballpark of what they were predicting. You know, they have a 4-year deal at 6.35, total contract of 25, almost 25.5 million. And he ends up signing for 2 years at 4.75 for a $9.5 million deal. So obviously quite the difference there. But with the cap going up, I'm curious to know what other teams are in on him or kicking the tires, or if any other teams actually offered a contract. But you would have to believe, if you're him, he probably looked at whatever other teams were offering him deals, and he saw the Devils as a place where he could possibly find some success, both personally and as a team. And having the chance, at least, to play with Jack Hughes is something that only the New Jersey Devils could offer. Obviously, other teams could, you know, try to promise, oh, you could possibly play with this guy or whatever. But in the end, if you are a winger, you know, there's not many guys in the league, I imagine, would bring you the level of excitement that playing with a Jack Hughes would bring. And I'm sure that was a huge factor in his decision. And should he play with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt for most of the season, he very well could have a season comparable to the one he had last year. And if he could do anywhere near that level of production for the next couple of years, he would certainly be in line for one more nice payday as a 33-year-old free agent. And with the cap going up, lots of money. So he's betting on himself here with this deal. Mr. White, Sonny playing with fire by rolling the dice with Mantha, whose shooting percentage is above 20%, is more injury-prone than Jack, and just ate 4.75 million of cap space, which leaves us with roughly 3 million to work with. Mr. White, always the glass is half empty kind of guy for the most part, but it is a gamble. But again, at 4.75 million bucks, I know you're going to say you should have put that money towards, you know, and then name some huge name player, and I totally can, you know, understand that thought process. But at 4.75 million bucks, I don't know that you would have found a better player, or you would find more production at that price point. Now, again, the argument could be made, oh, the 4.75 should have went towards someone else. That's a whole different topic. And obviously shooting at 20% is going to be hard to replicate. But do you not think that if he has a chance to play with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, that he couldn't have a similar year, even a 50, 55-point year with those guys? And in terms of the cap, yeah, there's only 3 million right now, but there looks, you know, when you look at the team right now on paper, it certainly seems like at a minimum 3 players could be traded out without bringing additional salary in, meaning like a defenseman or 2, a forward or 2. There's certainly a lot of guys under contract, and it seems like there's some extraneous parts. So in your world with the 3 million bucks, even a guy like Mercer, should he be traded? And I'm not advocating for that. I'm just, if there's a clear upgrade, I think, you know, anyone should be on the table. Obviously, I come from the Lou Lamoriello school of, you know, hockey philosophy. It's about the crest on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. But with the remaining cap space, with the potential salaries that could be moved out, I still think if Sonny wants to make another splash, it's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. Dire Wolf says, thought Mantha was going to get a stupid deal like 7x5. This is a reasonable risk versus reward choice at a good market price. Completely agree. Completely agree. If you could get a guy that could give you top 6 minutes and produce, shit, even if he was a very solid third liner, the money's not crazy, 4.75 million. But I do think he is going to get opportunity in the top 6, and I think he could thrive there. We're going to find out. Vecna Fitzgerald, what's going on? Titus Dream 12. Mantha could probably turn this into another contract in 2 years for similar money with the stats he should be able to get. At that point, it would be more. Like I said, he's probably fairly disappointed with this, given what he was likely being told by his agents and kind of the chatter that was out there. But it looks like, the Devils became the beneficiary of teams being a little cautious. Obviously, if that money was there for him, he would have signed prior to today, and it wasn't. So he took his time, weighed out his options, and he decided that New Jersey Devils at $4.75 million was where he wanted to be. Mr. White, people also need to understand that Mantha played with two big boys in Malkin and Brazeau, so that space was created by them, made a huge difference. Now he'll have Jack and Brad, so yeah, not ideal. Come on, Mr. White. I'm curious, Mr. White, if he plays the majority of the year with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, what do you think his stat line will be? I'm very curious. Bobby, what's up? Can you clarify for me why people want Sonny to make a trade for Stolars? He's 32 years old, and it's not like he's been phenomenal. He's a good goalie, but his age, I'll pass. I haven't seen much of that discourse. I'd imagine it's there, but I would have to believe that some folks, and again, and I understand why, given the history of the Devils goaltending over the past 13-ish years, post Martin Brodeur has been mostly a very big question mark, right? And so I do think people, once they saw, I guess, Rittich signed, people started to wrap their heads around the possibility that there was no other goaltender coming in, and the Devils were going to go into the season with Allen, Dawes, and Rittich, and I think people started to panic. And I think that's also just part of going through what we've all seen from Devils goaltenders for the majority of the last 13 years. And so I think people are deathly afraid, and then try to start thinking of any sort of other types of moves that could represent a potential upgrade in net. That's my best kind of diagnosis on that, Bobby. Dire Wolf says, when is the best time to buy home opener tickets, you think? I mean, I would say anytime. The home opener, like I said before, it's become like a huge festival. They have a bunch of things outside. They got, I think, face paint for the kids. There's a band, usually some little games, a little shoot the hockey puck, and a bunch of other stuff. The red carpet's pretty cool. I think they'll probably go on sale. They'll be announcing all that soon, probably in August. I mean, with the way the ticket marketplace works today, you could essentially buy them at any time. Regurgitator says, stop the Mercer hate. Yo, Holmes, you're crazy. Crazy Alex, I saw some people complaining about the signing in various places. He got more points than any player last season and putting good points for our current team. Are you talking about on the Devils? He would have been the highest goal scorer, fourth highest point totals. Andrew Luca's another fairly negative one. This is simply another move that simply doesn't fix this team. Sonny is just another inexperienced GM who has no idea how to build a winner. Andrew Luca, I'm so curious. Enlighten us. What exactly were you, what were you hoping for? What were you expecting? And what don't you like about a big-bodied potential top six winger at under $5 million? Mr. White, our superstar player can't stay healthy to save his life. So, yeah, people wanting a stud is basically to pick up the slack when Jack goes down because Nico and the gang have proved they can't do it. Disappointing performance overall with Jack Hughes out of the lineup last year. But some of these guys have to do some soul searching. You got to put the big boy pants on. If Jack goes down, which hopefully that does not happen, if he goes down, you need to step up. Furthermore, though, to defend the core to some extent, and I've had plenty of criticism of them over the last few years, well documented, just, not enough consistency. I do think that they were failed by the organization for most of those seasons because they didn't have the right complementary cast around them. Now, this offseason, I would say firmly that you saw at least two pieces that could fit the bill in Evan Rodriguez and now Anthony Mantha. Could these guys be some of the proper complementary players to the core? And we're not going to know that. People will have their opinions either way. We're not going to know how it plays out until we see it on the ice. But with a better supporting cast, I think the team could be better insulated from bottoming out if Jack Hughes should go down for any sort of time. But these are things that you could debate back and forth, but you're not going to know until it happens. And in this particular case, hopefully, obviously, Jack Hughes plays all 82 games, has the first 100-plus point season in New Jersey Devils history, and has a monster playoff, and helps this team win some rounds. Andrew Lucas said he scored 30 once. It's not like he's a perennial 30 goal scorer. Cool. I mean, I don't know that anyone said he was a perennial 30 goal scorer, but the potential is there. And with top 6 minutes and playing with some of the studs that Devils already have, I do think it is possible for him to have a similar season to last year, his career high. I could see 25 out of him, 25 goals, 25 assists, 25 and 30, something like that. And at $4.75 million, that is a massive win. All right, I got to skip ahead here. Sorry, folks. I fell behind getting chatty. You guys are blah, 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 blah. Mr. White, we added Rodriguez, Mantha, and Boquist. That the majority of this place thinks we've improved our team. They apparently haven't seen what's going on in Washington and the Rangers. So to your point, Mr. White, I will disagree and say that I think the team is at least marginally improved. I don't think it's a night and day difference. Like you're probably talking about some of the people that now believe this team is like a bona fide cup contender. Obviously, there's people on that level of extreme kind of thoughts. And I certainly would not agree with that. I do think they are at least a little bit better than they were at the end of last season. And there's still a lot of offseason left. So we will see when the dust settles what this final roster is going to look like. But I do think they are improved, just probably nowhere near the level that some of the super optimistic people believe, if that makes sense. 420 Tech says Jack's golden goal needs the win. I could not agree with you more. I have a now very high suspicion that he's going to get robbed, and it's going to go to OG Anunoby, but it is what it is. More disrespect for the sport of hockey. It's a crime. All hockey fans should be outraged if that doesn't win. Matty Ice, I can't believe Sonny got Mantha for under $5 million. I thought Mantha was going to get $6 to $8 million. I mean, $6 to $8 million is crazy, but I showed the projection was 6.3, and I did think that was a little high when I first saw it, and it almost prevented me from putting him on my free agent like potential targets for the Devils list. I put that article out and I think a video as well a couple weeks ago before free agency opened, and so I thought that seems a little high for him, even though he had that big year. But I fully thought in this new cap environment that a team would have given him like 5.5. I certainly thought. Justin Smith says, who cares about the ESPYs? I mean, I think some people do. I wouldn't care if there wasn't like a hockey related thing for the most part, but here we are. Regurgitator, best part about Mantha is we didn't give anything away for him. We still have all our assets. We have ammo. Another fair point, right? To sign a guy in free agency doesn't require you to part with anything. If you could improve your team in free agency, obviously that is a very effective method, but we'll see. We will see how this all plays out, but I do think Mantha is going to have a crack with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, and I think he could be a very good complementary piece for those guys. Troy Machine says NBA overhyped snooze fest. Justin Smith, ESPN hates hockey, so a hockey player is not going to win an ESPY. There is a fan vote element to this. I don't know exactly how it's weighted, and there's other things as well. I always think that it's kind of more for show and like engagement with sports fans overall than like that's how they're really picking. I'd love to know the behind the scenes how it really is picked, but I do think they're going to give it to Anunoby, which is a crime. Prezify at Andrew Luca. I mean, by happy, I mean with the offseason moves so far. Everyone has something to say. I'm with you in general about not being happy with how the team has been the past 10 years. Trust me. And I think that's very logical. And again, shout out to Steve the Maniac. Steve the Maniac has blown up my phone with, I would say, mostly negative sentiment and frustration. And Steve the Maniac is a lifelong Devils fan who loves the team, wants nothing more than for them to succeed. And he is just still waiting. The Maniac wants to see something big time. Mantha didn't really move the needle for him at all. And listen, we will see when the dust settles. As I've told Steve the Maniac a million times, it's July 15th. There's still plenty of off season. Let's see what this team looks like when all is said and done. He was very upset with the with Nemo getting traded for futures. He was not happy about that. I am on record saying that I thought I expected if Nemo was to be traded that it would have been in a deal to bring in a roster player for immediate help. I do think that could have been a miscue, but I'm waiting to see the finish line. What does this product look like at the end? But I certainly thought both the Shimo Nemec trade and the number 12 overall, I thought one of them for sure would have been part of a package for win now pieces, and we did not see that. Sonny Meta traded Nemo away for picks, futures. Those are, filed under win later. And Alexander Command drafted number 12th overall, who I do think can be a very good player, but obviously he is not going to help this current group anytime soon push towards a cup. And so Steve the Maniac was very upset with both of those things and is now just steaming, just sending me hate texts and a bunch of stuff. But like I've said to him and you guys on here, like it is July 15th. There is still plenty of off season left. Do I, again, anticipate something monstrous happening? I would lean towards probably not, but you never know. There's still lots of potential plays. When you look at the team right now, it looks like there's tons of guys that could be moved out before the season, unlocking some more cap space and other opportunities. And like I touched on before, I do think the whole Quinn thing could be playing a role in all of this. Regurgitator, I kept hearing we were in on Larkin also. If that happens, Quinn would definitely come next season. Larkin is an interesting one. Obviously, he's a guy that I think would help this team tremendously. I don't know if he would, so he had that short list with the usual suspects on it. Minnesota, Vegas, who else did they have? Florida. I think maybe Florida was on there. Very intrigued to see what happens with the whole Larkin fiasco. And now does Yzerman getting or leaving, whatever happened there in Detroit with Yzerman no longer in the picture, does that change his outlook on the franchise? Does he maybe stay there? I don't know. It's a messy situation, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Larkin. But another guy that obviously, tons of teams would love to have. How realistic that is, I don't know. But the Quinn extension still hasn't gone down. Turco, my man, what percentage are you at that Quinn stays in Minnesota? I think right now I'm still at like 70%. But if this goes through this weekend, the percentage that he stays in Minnesota, I just by default have to lower it a little bit. And I can't believe, honestly, that we're here on July 15th where it's not done. After all the reports that it was a foregone conclusion and the owner and all this. And now it's like, was that all just propaganda the entire time? It makes you really start to wonder. Because what is the holdup for an extension that wouldn't go into effect until the 27-28 season? There's really no reason for it not to be done. Like, I don't think money would be a sticking point. I'm pretty sure the Wild would pay him within reason anything that he wants. So what is the holdup? I don't know. Derek says Quinn isn't going to NJ. Regurgitator says Quinn is in NJ. Justin says 30% chance Quinn Hughes stays in Minnesota. That's very interesting. Ford 20 Tech says Quinn to NJ will happen when pigs fly. I don't know. Are you talking about ever or like in the short-term future? Yo Home says, imagine signing Mantha and being upset about it. What goofs we got. Regurgitator says, when will McCarr's contract happen? I'm not sure, and a lot of people have speculated like that could be the holdup, but I don't think it is. I mean, you already know with that Leo Carlson offer sheet, obviously a different position, but like the precedent is being set that for monster players or even guys with monster potential, right? Let's be real. Leo Carlson, what did he have? 67 points, and they're just basically putting a huge gamble on the upward trajectory, which is kind of an necessary evil in today's world. Like he had 67 points in 70 games. Great player. And I'm sure he probably will be a 100+ point player at some time in the near future. But 18 million bucks? I mean, if he's worth 18 million bucks, then Quinn Hughes is certainly worth the max contract, which I believe is like 20.2 million. I don't think he's going to handcuff the Wild and demand the full max. But that 17 to 18 million that Elliot Friedman was reporting, and I think a few other people did as well, is certainly within reason. And so the Makar thing just seems like more, I don't know, lip service or like an excuse. Like, I just don't think it's valid. TJK, let's be honest, the Wild have won a single playoff series since 2015 and have not made the conference final since 03. How are they an ultimate destination? I don't know that they're an ultimate destination, but it's certainly attractive, and they're certainly built to be somewhat of a contender for the next few years, especially with Quinn Hughes. And so that is why it is likely a destination, especially for the American guys, right? The Team USA guys like Larkin, you know, he'd be with Quinn Hughes if he's still there. Faber, Boldy, obviously familiar with Billy Guerin. They have Kaprizov. I mean, they're built to, and again, it's going to be a tough road for them, right? In the West, with some of those teams out there, the Avalanche, the Knights, the Stars, some juggernauts out there. But if you're being realistic, most people would tell you they're closer to competing for a cup than the Devils. That's just the reality of the situation. Mr. White, I've said since day one that I'll give Sonny until puck drop of the 26-27 season. And if he can somehow land Larkin, who is Mantha's good friend in Detroit, that would be a needle-moving acquisition. Okay, so Mr. White, you would be ecstatic with the Larkin ad, which again, for all we know, that could potentially still be on the table. We just don't know. And it seems like Sonny is not leaking things out as much as maybe Fitz was. I mean, there were certain things that you're like, it would get out there. There'd be rumors, and then it would happen. It certainly seems like Sonny is going to, you know, move a little more silently. Stickfix says, I doubt that the Wild would, in quotes, just not get to it yet, like they're a high schooler procrastinating on a school project. We're talking about Quinn Hughes. Yeah, that was a very odd when they were trying to downplay it. Like, oh, but, you know, that could be the case if both sides have had preliminary talks and it's somewhat of a foregone conclusion, but I just don't know why they wouldn't just do it already. I don't know. It's a very odd thing. One of the weirder ones I've seen in a while. Regurgitator says many fans think the Quinn deal has been done yet, but they aren't announcing it. That's certainly an interesting theory. Andrew says there aren't any offseason moves to be happy about so far either. This team needs a major move. Can you give me like some names? I'm so curious. I'm assuming you're going to be like Jason Robertson. Who else are you going to put in there? Connor McDavid? Bratt, Hamilton, and 2 number 1s for Quinn. I don't know if they would want Hamilton, but I'd imagine 2 number 1s and Bratt would get their attention. But if Quinn Hughes is not going to sign the extension, if that was their firm asking price, I don't know that Sonny Maeda would part with a guy like Bratt to get Quinn 1 season sooner. I know many people would just say do it. I don't know that he would. If the extension wasn't in place and they knew that he was basically going to sign with the Devils in free agency, to give up Bratt for 1 extra year of Quinn Hughes, I don't know. I think people will probably be on both sides of the fence with that one. Regurgitator, Sonny has to make more moves with like 15 wingers signed. Some of them are going to be shipped out, I believe, as well as some of the defensemen. Justin Smith, if Quinn Hughes doesn't sign by the end of July, he will be a New Jersey Devils player. I mean, if this goes on into August, oh my God. I know there's some Devils fans that would then just be drunk with the thought of Quinn Hughes coming to the Devils, and the speculations and all the chatter and all the stuff would just intensify even more than it already has. Take care, Mr. Wright. Regurgitator, I think Hamilton is about to take off next season. He was pissed with Fitz and didn't want to play. Now he's gone and Sonny likes him. He's going to become Mr. Piss Missile. Dougie Hamilton, another guy that I had defended for a long time. I mean, people talked about Dougie Hamilton as if he was this like horrific player that had no value, and I just never understood it. He is. Oh, this is another Jack Hughes is this is so funny. I didn't even see that this was a category. They have a category on the ESPYs for best sports card. And his Topps Now 1 of 1 signed with the golden goal Go USA inscription is up for the best card. I mean, this is crazy. Sports memorabilia, I've always been into it, but it's becoming way more, mainstream and part of all these different integrations, so much so that they got a category in the ESPY sort of crazy. But I think Dougie Hamilton is a win now player. I know a lot of people were like, oh, they should have got rid of him and kept Shimo Nemitz. And like, obviously from forever ago, I said, I don't see both of them returning to the Devils just from a cap perspective. And even at the deal he signed, many people were like, oh, the Devils should have signed him for that, blah, blah, blah. But I think it was a twofold kind of issue, obviously cap space, but more so, I just think that he knew that his path to opportunity was essentially somewhat blocked by Dougie Hamilton and Luke Hughes, and he just wanted a clearer, path to a bigger role. Derek's Mantha cost himself with his embarrassing playoff performance. Yeah, that was another thing I saw a lot of people talking about. I'll pull that up real quick. People say playoff ghost, he vanishes. Gonna pull up his playoff stats. Yeah, the Knicks are gonna win everything. They won sports card here. So we look at his career. Let me pull this off. Career stats 2021 with the Caps, 5 games in the playoffs, no goals, 2 assists. 21-22 with the Caps, 6 games, no goals, 4 assists. 23-24 with the Golden Knights, 3 games, no goals or assists. And then last year at the Pens in 6 games, 1 assist. So through 20 career playoff games, encapsulating 4 different playoff runs, which all ended in the first round. 0 goals and 7 assists. So obviously not a great stat line for him in the playoffs. And we will see if this team could get to the playoffs, which I'm pretty confident they will. Can he change that? Can he improve this? Yeah, that's not a great. I certainly understand the concern, but we'll see. 0 playoff goals. Maybe he will score his first career playoff goal wearing the red and black as a member of the New Jersey Devils. All right, we're back in the comments. Regurgitator said Bratt disappears in the playoffs. Also, Bratt needs a change of scenery. I think he's going to have a big year. Yo, Holmes, Mantha signing for super cheap short term coming off his best season is a great move. Dude, I agree. Oh, we got another jokester. Is it true Mantha got hurt today when he signed the contract? Hurt it's his wrist 6 to 8 weeks. Come on. Derek says, any Devil fan whining about Mantha is a moron. Guy scored 33 goals, playing 80% of the season on the third line and second power play. Shooting percentage was high, obviously, but a good player nonetheless. I think that's a fair assessment. He doesn't need to have the same season he had last year for it to be a win. And that's the thing I think people just keep, he's never going to do it again. Like, great. He doesn't need to for it to be a good signing. Obviously, the more points, the better. But it's not like it's this massive fail and they're paying $7 million for the guy. He's a $4.75 million cap hit. Regurgitator said Kane is going to either Buffalo or Chicago. I did see that report earlier today that he's trying to pick It would be pretty fitting, I guess, either way, to go to his hometown team in Buffalo or to finish it off in Chicago. I'm sure the Chicago fans would love to see it. But if we're being real, if he puts a premium on winning, probably has a better chance in Buffalo. Crossturn 95 says, can't wait for the schedule release tomorrow. Hopefully we won't have to wait until March to face the Rags again. One of the worst things I've ever seen with the schedule. Oh, hold on. The Hughes brothers are on the carpet with Matthew Tkachuk. Please hold. ESPN right now. Cool little segment with Jack and Quinn and Matthew Tkachuk. But yeah, waiting to making the world wait for March. I mean, the both teams were in the toilet when the first game happened, and it's like this would have been a much better thing to have the teams face each other obviously sooner than later when the games are still meaningful. That was a travesty. I don't think I've ever seen anything remotely like that. Devil Evans says, honestly, I'd like to see Mantha the Monster with Timo and Nico. Listen, guys, when you look at the forward group right now, there is an endless amount of possibilities for line combos. You may see that. You may see multiple different combinations tried before something kind of clicks. City Yen, I don't know. Depth is more important than signing superstars. Recent Stanley Cup champions have clearly shown us that. A very good move by Sonny. We need more. Don't tell that to the people that only want the stars, though. I do believe sometimes the best moves can be these more under the radar ones that don't scream like, oh my God. But people are starving for something monstrous. And apparently for a lot of people, Anthony Mantha was not cutting it. All right, let me speed up here. Bobby says, listen, I'm just as frustrated as the next longtime fan, but I'd hate to be as pessimistic as Andrew Luca or Mr. White. I'm going to give Sonny a chance to turn this team around into a true contender. A lot of people just, there's no more patience left. And like I said, 15 years of mostly losing and only winning a single playoff round will drive some people to dark places. And there's a lot of people living in that reality right now. Dev Evans says, I don't want the huge name. I want to piece this puzzle together again like the old days. A long time coming with a GM with a brain. Regurgitator Mantha kind of cruises, but he can finish like a beast. Let Jack and Brad zip around and feed him in front of the net. Yeah, I mean, watch his let me drop that in the chat right now. His goal reel. You see, he can score a bunch of different ways. And right in the goalie's face, right down low, he did a lot of damage there. Again, tipping pucks, rebounds, finishing off the rush. Regurgitator, I want to know why Mantha signed with us. I heard Montreal was on him also. When does he get a presser? I believe he will do media within a couple days. Yo Holmes said OG's finish completes the greatest comeback in NBA history. Jack's goal is the greatest goal in the history of this country. Regurgitator, it's going to be a long offseason, especially with the Quinn situation. Devil Evan Sonny has turned this team inside out already in, what, a month? I mean, he's done a lot. The team already, aside from the future with, replenishing the pipeline and the prospects, the team for puck drop the upcoming season, it's going to look quite different than last year. Obviously, a lot of same faces, but there's going to be a lot of new faces as well. Pete said, are you happier with the Mantha signing, or would you have preferred getting Hayden had Utah not matched? That's a tough one. I think there's pros to both. From a points perspective, I think Mantha gives you more. But getting Hayden may have unlocked other things that would have ultimately led to maybe a better team. I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough one. I don't think there's an easy answer either way there. Dr. PG, we could have over 18 million in cap space at the trade deadline, depending on, I guess, where we are in the playoff hunt or not. A move or two could happen there to put us over the proverbial hump. Let's hope that happens. Yeah, there's some draft capital for Sonny to make a splash for sure. Regurgitator, when is FanFest again? People said we would know more answers about Quinn then if he hasn't signed. What is FanFest? You mean Fanatics Fest? Starts tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Can't see why Larkin wouldn't want to come here now and play with Jack. With that low cap hit, he should be a top target. We could absolutely put together a package for him. I agree, but that starts with Sonny wanting to bring him in and Larkin wanting to come here. Rabid Monkeypox says, do we keep cap space open for Quinn? Quinn doesn't make a ton of money. His current contract is like $8 million. In a world where he became available immediately, I have no doubt in my 7.85 that Sonny would be able to accommodate that quickly. I don't think that's an issue. And there's a ton of cap space for the following season, which would be, the extension would be, more than double, I'd imagine, his 7.85. Yeah. Quite a pay increase for that young man on the horizon. Jungle Static, one thing that would really help this franchise is Grits becoming a top 6 player, almost in the mold of Palmieri. Of all the things that could break our way, that'd be huge. And I think he's going to get an opportunity as well. A lot of people I've seen out there kind of guessing line combinations and things for the season, and I'll eventually get there. Still kind of early, in my opinion. People were doing this, last week. It's like, Mantha got signed today. So there's still plenty of room and time for changes. But Arseniy Gritsuk blossoming into a legitimate top 6 player, I think is exactly what, Sonny Mehta is hoping for. And I do think he will get the opportunity this year. Whether he sticks there or not will remain to be seen. But I do think at a minimum, he will be part of a very solid third line. Or this is the year that he takes that step and you see him become a legitimate top 6 guy. Yeah, could the top 6 be filled out with Grits and Mantha? Obviously, there's always the possibility of Connor Brown. I know no one's going to want to hear this, but there's obviously a chance that you see Mercer there at some point again, and other people are going to melt down. But there's certainly a lot of possibilities. Potato Man, there are currently more bodies than roster spots, so some more moves are guaranteed to happen, even if it's just moving somebody out for picks. Completely agree, and this is what I've been talking about with the cap space as well. People are like trying to do gymnastics looking at the current cap space. Like when you look at this, there's whatever's 3 million or so left right now, but there's clearly some money going to be getting shipped out and likely 4 picks or whatever it is to just free up cap space. So it's, there's a ton of ways that could happen. BMP says, I like the signing. There's still time to make moves. The core needs complementing pieces like this. Why is everyone so negative? It's partially post-Fitzgerald stress disorder. It's years of losing. It's a lot of things, and it's just weighing on a lot of people, and I certainly understand. But if you don't believe that or at least so it seems, right? And I'm not crowning anybody or anything like that, but it certainly seems what we've seen over the last month or so from Sonny Maeda, he certainly seems like he is a different animal than what many of you have been hurt by. And so, he's even said the exact phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. I've said it before as well. He has to fix a bunch of different areas, and to expect a complete 360 for this organization overnight is unrealistic, especially when he's still tending to the future needs of the organization. He said he wants to win now and later. Part of the later, as much as people may not want to hear it, is, developing that pipeline, drafting properly, getting Utica. I got Steve the Maniac's texting me right now. And doing all that stuff. So he's not going to completely ignore that either. Ace, are you watching the World Cup? Who do you want to win the World Cup? I honestly don't really care. I usually watch the final game, and that's really it. I personally cannot get into soccer. Holmes says adding a 30-plus goal scorer for cheap is needle moving. Army says Minnesota isn't contending with no centers and little D depth. Swap Quinn onto the Devils and they go further than Minnie. That very well could be true, right? Like, he's the swing player. Like, yeah, they're better than the Devils right now because he's there, but are the Devils better with Quinn than Minnesota is with Quinn? That is certainly more debatable, for sure. Dr. PG, in regards to Quinn re-signing and Minnie, I have a feeling that the cap is the issue there. Billy G has to figure out how to keep a cup contending team together with 2 guys making like 35 mil per year. Yeah, but he knew this was coming. So I don't know. In terms of the rest of the team, that could be a question mark. But in terms of actually making Quinn fit, I have no doubt that he'll make that happen. Whether he does have to incur some damage along the way and cap casualties to fit, different story. But I don't think that would be a major sticking point, especially because the deal goes into effect the season after this one. So that's kind of a problem down the road. Bobby says, but I ask again with all this Larkin chatter, who are we going to give up to acquire him without negatively affecting the team in the process? In a Larkin deal, I would imagine, the New Jersey Devils preference would be obviously heavy on futures, whether that's, draft picks and prospects. And I'm sure Detroit would not love that. But there's certainly options. If there's a will, there's a way. If Sonny identifies him as a guy that can help this team, or that he wants to invest the assets and cap space on, it could happen. But there needs to be mutual interest from both, obviously, the Devils and Larkin wanting to come here. And again, that could be something that's maybe on the radar after we see what happens with Quinn. I firmly believe that until that's resolved, the Devils are just kind of waiting in the wings. Amagi says, people aren't happy, Ace, unless Nathan McKinnon is our 4th line center. I mean, that's obviously exaggerated, but maybe not by much. Some of these people would, it's never enough. Walter Crunk says the only reason the Quinn deal is taking so long for Minnesota is because of the Leo Carlson situation. He probably wants the same amount of money that Leo is getting minimum. Sure, but I don't think that would be an issue. I have to believe that that was expected from the Wild. They had to know also. They kind of started the madness with the Kaprizov contract at 17 mil. So what could they possibly have hoped or thought that Quinn Hughes was going to want for an extension? Like, you had to know it was going to be expensive, and that's a next year problem technically. If Quinn Hughes came to New Jersey, would Luke Hughes change his number? I would think no. If Quinn came here, I think he would change his number. Oh my goodness, there's also the possibility that another Cup contender trades for Quinn as a rental if it becomes apparent that he's not going to sign an extension and most likely signs with NJ next year. No, 100%. I said that teams would pay, but they wouldn't pay they wouldn't pay as much as the Devils would, because the Devils would know they would be getting him long term. So at that point, if he does not sign the extension, it would be in their best interest to try to trade him to the Devils for the largest possible package they could get. Andrew Lucas says, yeah, why not Robertson? Why not Quinn? Why didn't they try for Brady? The attitude of this club needs to change. So all guys that would obviously improve any team they go to. Robertson, who knows if he wants to come to the Devils, number one. But the biggest thing with Robertson is he wants tons of money. I don't think Sonny Mehta is clamoring to pay him, $14 or $15 million, whatever he was looking to get. So I think that would be the major sticking point with Robertson. Again, that's in conjunction with him possibly not wanting to come to the Devils. Quinn, whole different animal, and I think there still could be something there. We're not going to know until something's done with Quinn. We're getting all these reports that, oh yeah, they're close, but it's been 2 weeks, so I mean something's there's something going on there. And Brady, for all we know, again, Sonny may have tried to get Brady. That no one that was a lose, like that was a predetermined thing. Like, he was going to go to Florida with his brother, and you're not competing with that. Similarly to how that should have been the case with Quinn last year with the Devils. Obviously, with Fitz in charge, he found a way to blow it, but it was gift wrapped, just like Brady was for Florida. And I know a lot of Senators fans were not happy about that whole thing and blah blah blah. But players have a lot of power, and especially when they have trade protection, they have a say in where they go, and players are going to use that. Players want to win and want to play for winning teams that operate like they're trying to win the Cup every year. And Florida has certainly exhibited that. And then obviously with his brother being there was never anywhere else. That was Florida had the inside track, and they got it done. Wadata. What is the obsession with Brady Tkachuk? What has he accomplished? Well, so far he's accomplished a gold medal. In terms of in the NHL, solid player. In terms of team achievements, nothing. But again, everybody has to win for the first time at some point, right? So I don't know if I would call it an obsession, but the fascination or intrigue by Brady Tkachuk is that he certainly would have represented a culture-shifting type of move for the New Jersey Devils and checked a lot of boxes that a lot of people were looking for. And so that is why I think you saw so much chatter around that possibility. Regurgitator said, it'd be funny if we get above average goaltending from our three. It would make Sonny look like a genius, and goalie values would drop. I don't know that you're ever going to see them drop entirely. I still think for at least a very long time, there will be some general managers who are just more comfortable with investing, more money into the position and having a more solid baseline for goaltending. But I do believe over time, as the old guard kind of shifts out, and then more and more of the analytics folks or analytics kind of more focused guys like Sonny Mehta eventually take general manager positions throughout the league, that you will see more of a shift towards the somewhat de-emphasis of the goaltending position, at least de-emphasis in terms of spending big money on it. But we'll see. Regurgitator says, if the Devils don't make the playoffs this year, we need to do a full rebuild. That is I would have no words if that happened. That would be, I don't know if it'd have to be a full rebuild necessarily, because even if that did happen, which would be an absolute nightmare, there certainly would be a lot of valuable pieces still in place that you could potentially move to try to do some massive overhaul. But that would be, I just can't see it. Jason knows that if they can't make the playoffs, it's time to blow it up completely. I mean, I think most people would kind of be there. What's the deadline for Quinn? There is no deadline. He has a contract for this upcoming season, and the Wild are hoping to extend him beyond that. Now, I mean, could he start playing games without a contract? It's possible. I think that would be a pretty wild gamble. How much more do we need to suffer? Devil Heaven Ace, what is your best piece of history, favorite piece? What do you mean by that, Devil Heaven? What is my best piece of history? What do you mean by that? I'm trying to scroll to the bottom of the chat here. You guys are super chatty. Shout out to everybody for coming out. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to speed up a little bit after if he doesn't answer. All right, Devil Heaven, if you don't answer in a second, then I'm going back up and I'll eventually get down to it. But best piece of history. All right, I'll eventually get back to that, and I'll remember what, hopefully remember what you're talking about. I'm watching. I have in my headset the ESPYs, the carpet thing. There was nothing really of interest for me outside of that 2-minute segment with Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk. But I think the robbery is going to happen. Crazy Alex, in a perfect fantasy dream world with no restriction, all 3 Hughes and both Tkachuks on the Devils. That'd be insane. Talk about Team USA to the fullest. CNJ Dev, if Jack Hughes or Megan Keller don't win the ESPYs, that's a crime. It should be Jack Hughes, but I'll accept Megan Keller. I did a video on this. I completely agree with you. I do think Jack's, because of, again, the whole shift was incredible. All the plays that he made up to actually scoring the goal is a thing of beauty. Just absolute storybook shift. Defending McDavid, gets the loose puck, kicks it to Werenski, then saves the terrible Werenski backhand dribbler pass across the middle. He stabs it past Makar, flies up the ice, gets open. Great, just an insane shift, a great sequence, great finish, great story to break the 46-year drought. And for all those reasons, he should easily win the award. But I would not be incensed if they gave it to Megan Keller. Her actual goal was probably better, but, you know, the USA women have had 2 other gold medals before that. So just the historic aspect of it is not quite the same. But I could live with Megan Keller, even though I still would say I think Jack got slighted. It wouldn't be the egregious robbery that I will call it if OG Anunoby gets it for the tip. And I think he's gonna. And hockey fans everywhere should be incensed. Oh my goodness, says where Jack is actively talking Quinn into signing with NJ on the red carpet as we speak. Well, he can't. I guess for the future, he could potentially talk him into signing with NJ. But if he doesn't sign the extension, I think there is a chance that he could be on the move. It's a possibility. Matty Ice says Grits belongs in the top 6. Grits will get his chance this year. Brandon T, my biggest complaint right now is our core doesn't step up when there's injuries. Yeah, I mean, if that happens this year, they're gonna have to step up. Injuries are part of the game, and plenty of teams, not just in the NHL, in all sports, have to deal with injuries. And if your team collapses when one guy goes down, that's a rather large indictment on the team. But when you look at the team on paper, you would expect much more in the event of a Jack Hughes injury than what we've seen in those games. It's been way too many years of being a lottery team. One playoff round one. One playoff round one in 15 years. It doesn't seem real, almost. Jerome D'Angelo, are we not allowed to call you Ace anymore? You certainly can, if you'd like. A lot of people still do. The OGs. Respect to my OGs out there. Appreciate all of you. Longtime viewers and new viewers. Dr. PG, free Timo, right wing and power play 1. You would think
you would at least try the right wing thing. Again, I know there's people that are adamant that it doesn't matter, but like if it doesn't matter, then just try it. What is the harm in trying? Power play 1, that's a hill I will certainly die on for sure. More so than the left and right wing thing. Power play 1, anytime you have a guy that was feasting on the power play on his prior team and then he does not get that same opportunity here, you should certainly expect a dip in production. And we've seen that with Timo. Now, that's not to fully excuse the season he had last year. It was certainly a down year. And he needs to step up this year. He's a guy that certainly needs to rebound from the year he had last year. But, not getting power play time is going to play a part. It is certainly going to play a part. ESPN hates hockey. It's possible. It's definitely not a priority. Khalil, what's up? Khalil Ace, is Dawes getting a shot this season? I would certainly think so. Based on what, again, sometimes some people have to just kind of read between the lines. And I think a lot of people, I told you guys I got attacked for this, which I thought was ludicrous. But based on Sonny Maida's answer about goaltending, I asked him, was the plan to roll into the season with Dawes and Allen as the tandem? And he gave a long-winded answer about how, Dawes has been a great prospect for the team. He's been blocked, blah, blah, blah. And it was a very long, thought-out answer. And I took that as he's definitely getting an opportunity. Now, whether that means to claim, the 1A role or the 1B, I think it's going to completely depend on how he performs when he gets in there. But it certainly seems as though with him talking so positively about him and the contract they gave him, that he is going to certainly get a chance to claim a full-time NHL spot. And I fully expect him to do so. Jerome, Devils just signed a great player for Jack and Jesper and all you star to talk about Quinn. NJ Dev says, I'm sick of it too because I fear NJ will overpay to get Quinn. What do you think would be an overpayment? No, Irish guy, Polish last name. The home opener is against Philly. And then game 2, 2 days later. Oh my God. They have the. What channel are the ESPYs on? Is it on ABC? I was just watching the pregame or the pre whatever. Dude, yep, it's on ABC. All right, folks, ABC. The ESPYs are live. I'm going to get off here in a couple minutes. I'm going to be outraged. Maybe I'll stay on here depending on when they're going to do the best play. But first game, October 1st. And then I believe it was the New York Islanders home opener is the 3rd. And it's against the Devils. So you got Thursday, October 1st, Devils hosting the Flyers at the Rock. And then Devils on the road Saturday, October 3rd on the island, taking on the Islanders and stud defenseman phenom Matthew Schaefer. Snow said, send Mercer out of here. No way, top 6 again. You never know. He may get the crack. But I do think he is a serviceable bottom 6 player. And I think people just need to realize not every guy, especially first-round picks, not every guy is going to become, a 70, 80-point guy and a legitimate top 6 player. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And I know a lot of people are disappointed with that. But that doesn't mean that Mercer's a bad hockey player. Man, this thing has become quite a marketing event. Is anyone else watching the ESPYs? My little nephews love the Savannah Bananas. Apparently, this is some kind of, I don't know what the hell they're doing here. Like some choreographed number with Savannah Banana jerseys on. Yeah, I always say that. Yeah, 180. Adam G. Jack Hughes should totally win best play, but I unfortunately think OG's Tippin is going to win it. Would love to be wrong. Yeah, so would I. Vecna Fitzgerald, Sonny did more this offseason thus far than Fitz ever did. Let's be honest. He fixed the bottom 6, and Fitz didn't even know what depth scoring is. One of the many Tom Fitzgerald quotables that I think will live on in Devils history forever. What is depth scoring is certainly up there. I know a lot of you really like that one. along with, I guess I don't look at the standings. CNJ Dev says it should be Jack Hughes. If not Hughes, then Megan Keller. All right. No choking 1271. Sup, Ace? Haven't seen any reaction to the Mantha signings. What's the vibe like? I mean, like everything else, it just depends on who you talk to. I think some people are over the moon. Some people are the negative Nancy crowd, underwhelmed and never pleased and always wanting more. And I am personally kind of in the middle of the road. I think it is a very good signing, especially at the price. I do think there is still work to be done before the season starts, but the season's not starting for 2.5 months. And so, the people that want to live in the moment, like my buddy Steve the Maniac sending me hate texts. There's still plenty of time for this team to be improved before puck drop on opening night, and we'll see. But I think Mantha is certainly a very, very good deal for the Devils and tremendous upside. If he really, especially if he sticks in the top 6 and he becomes that third piece of the Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt line, I think it could be a phenomenal signing. World's Worst Gamer, I think it is reasonable for people to not like all about Mantha considering he scored 0 goals in 20 playoff games. Well, again, fair criticism, but are you going to be like, oh, you didn't score in the playoffs in 20 games, so you're completely useless? Like, you still got to get to the playoffs. And again, just for comparison's sake, in 18 career playoff games, Jesper Bratt has two goals. So obviously 2 is better than 0, but it's not like he's been tearing up the playoffs either. So, a lot of guys you could look to critique on playoff numbers. No, I'm not. I've worn t-shirts and stuff. I've certainly worn t-shirts. Definitely not required to wear a collared shirt. And I think your collared there is like collared greens. I think collared in this context would be ED. COLLARED. Guys, little factoid that I've never revealed before. In my youth, I've won multiple spelling bees. True story. Regurgitator 85 comes with grits 60 plus points this season. I think that's definitely possible if he sticks in the top 6. Jerome Ace, what are the chances of Jakob Malik getting starts this year? I would say there's a chance. I don't know what I would put the percentage at, but I talked about this on a live stream recently as well. Like, especially with, the potential of injuries or maybe someone struggling, I definitely could see him getting a crack for sure. I forget who, somebody, and I wish I could remember. Someone predicted, a very bold prediction, that he would be the starter by the end of the season, which would be quite the story on so many levels. But I definitely think there is a world where he could get some starts for sure. And I also believe that would mean a couple things went wrong or went off the rails prior to that, but there's always a possibility. Who is a defenseman best suited to play next to Salayev? Oof. Are you talking about like immediately or in the future? And speaking of D, I'm curious. Seamus Casey, we've talked about him a few weeks ago, but like, where is his role in all of this? Is he going to have a chance to either find an opportunity elsewhere or with the New Jersey Devils? I don't think he is either, but crazier things have happened. I do think he's probably not that far away. And I think the team would initially have him slated to start in Utica, but a big training camp and a preseason can certainly change things. The fact that Fitzgerald, yeah, I mean, it was terrible. Jerome Ace, which Utica comment do you want to see on the big team aside from Lenny? I've always been a LaChance guy. I don't know how close he is, but he has some real nice hands, can finish in tight. He's shown it in preseason and some of those rookie different tournaments and things, and embraces the physical game. And another big guy. Obviously, the big knock on him is the skating, but I think he could be a nice piece, for a fourth line, an energy guy that could give you chip in with a little offense here and there and just smash guys, and give the other teams hell. LaChance is definitely one that I'm curious to see. T Anon says, Ace, I've noticed over the last few videos we're dooming in the summer now. Wild. Are you really shocked? Some of these people, man, you could tell them we somehow cryogenically froze Wayne Gretzky from years ago, and he came out of a chamber like Mel Gibson in Forever Young, and we had peak Wayne Gretzky. People would still find something to complain about. I thought Casey was getting traded with switching agents. I mean, it's still very possible. It's July 15th. Who knows how this is going to play out? But very curious to see what becomes of him. This guy's talking about the gold medal. They showed Jack, Quinn, and Kachuk. This guy's making hockey jokes right now. Hold on. That's a cool picture. Brian Jonta with the cup. Yeah, the money's not an issue. If the Wild want to trade him here, he will become a Devil. The money will never be an issue. Jason, we need Luke to take that big step this year. He's a guy that I think is going to have a maybe not necessarily a breakout season, but a big season. What's going on, Traveling? He says that would be nice. Wait, is this real? Bill Guerin's at the ESPYs, and they just showed him and Jack in deep conversation, and Jack dapping up Billy G. I haven't been fixated on the channel. Is that real? Did that really happen? Oh yeah, I'm super behind. I was talking about Timo when he was on San Jose. Andrew Lucas says, Anthony, I've noticed you continue to say guys like me and Mr. White are always negative. Tell me what this organization has given the fan base to be positive about in the last 10 plus years. Listen, Andrew Luca, I totally agree with you. It's been a long time of unacceptable, underperforming nonsense, right? But what I'm I guess what I'm trying to articulate or explain is that Sonny Maeda is not the guy who did all this damage. He was not part of that regime. He is a new regime, and he's now trying to fix all the different messed up elements and branches of an organization. Scouting, drafting, position coaches, the AHL team overall, the current roster. He's trying to do all of this. And so it definitely cannot all be fixed overnight, and it's going to take some time. But I understand that you're furious about the history of what has happened over the past years, but give the guy a chance. It's still July 15th. It's July 15th. Brody said stay on. I mean, I already know it's going to happen. They're giving it to OG. You guys are talking about banana ball. Playoffs. CNJ Dev, no way. I won spelling bees too as a kid. I once went to a regional competition at Middlesex County College and lost. Nice. Devil Heaven, how about our Devils and our Utica baby Devils both raise cups like 95? I mean, that'd be nice. Marlene Rogers, I'll be so upset if Jack doesn't win the award after 46 years men hockey hasn't won Olympic gold. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I was busting your chops. No choking. Seamus Casey, if I recall, recently signed with CAA, the big agency that Jack Luke's dad is a VP or some role. I might be thinking about Nemitz, but someone correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I don't know if that was the agency, but he definitely switched agents. Finkel Brian, excited for Mantha. He definitely benefited from playing with Malkin, but we need size and it's a reasonable contract length. Absolutely. And like benefiting from playing with Malkin, would he not benefit from playing with Jack Hughes and Bratt or potentially Nico Hischier and Timo Meier? No choking, by the way. I think that means that Casey will be playing in the NHL this season. Also just saw you react to someone else saying he switched agents. Yeah. The replay of what, Marlene? Are you talking about the award show? Yeah, I thought that was a terrible joke, personally. The Knicks are going to sweep every award tonight. OG Anunoby, the fix is in, guys. The fix is in, man. They won, I think they won for sports card. Now Brunson got it for was it championship performance? I forget who the other nominees were, but Brunson balled out. SJ struggles this team, go back to drafting, just can't seem to find diamonds other than Bratt. Yeah, I mean, obviously Bratt's an extreme example of getting a great player super late in the draft. It's obviously, easier said than done, but you got to at least hit on some guys in the first and second round. I mean, when you look at the first round, some of the first round draft picks in recent times, brutal stuff. The Knicks are going to win for team of the year too, which I could accept that more than USA hockey. I could accept USA, the men's team, losing to the Knicks for team of the year way more than the play. The play is just a criminal act. These award shows suck, so get on with the show. Casey signed with CAA, Pat Person. Yeah, power agent. Casey has a Parrots Alive. Yeah, that could certainly be interesting. Good night, Andrew. No, Brunson was deserving. Finkel, Brian, I do like Meta, but it's important to give him time. People were commenting he sucked at the draft because he didn't bring in like Robertson day one. Fitz was reactive instead of proactive. Yeah, again, if you remotely believe that they are similar in any way, then I just, I don't know what to tell you. I think they are drastically different. I do believe that Sonny Meta has a firm plan, and that he is going to methodically stick to his plan. He's talked about it several times, his philosophy on building a team. And I think in time, people will see that I do think he is going to end up being a pretty good GM, but we're going to see. But he's already accomplished a good amount in short time. I know people still want to see more moves before the season. Cool. There's still plenty of time. But we got to educate some new fans here. Jay Snow was a historic run for sure, but the tip does not deserve to beat the golden goal. Either one of the golden goals. SJ said it should be Jack, USA over NBA. Derek, the motor rider, what's going on? Meta was involved in drafting Brat. Yeah, he said he had him very high on his board. It's been talked about quite a bit. Jay Snow, I really think Meta is going to evaluate this year and see what happens. Yeah, and if things look decent, I think you'll see him use some of those draft picks to make a swing at the deadline or sooner should some guys become available around the league. I definitely think you're going to see him strike when he sees opportunity. A lot of draft picks. Some of them got to get traded, though. At some point, some of them have to be traded for win now pieces. If this core is ever, or any semblance of this core is going to make a push. Dire distress. It is a long road. Evan Spitzy Meta has a plan. I firmly believe that. Jay Snow, what about the heli paddle save? Insane. I don't think, was that? Brunson might win best male athlete too. I just saw something on X. Shout out to Tyler. Tyler was the one that predicted Malik would wind up being the starter. And then he said, be bold or go home. Certainly a bold claim. And while I think it's a long shot, it could happen. I mean, I definitely think there's a very good, maybe not very good. There is a chance he gets at least a game or two. And you never know. Sometimes these guys come out of nowhere, put up a powerful performance and make a case for a spot. Devlin's Ace, what do you think about our new sweater? I'm gonna have a video on that sometime in the off season as we move away from the on ice changes and things. I'll start getting into a little more funky stuff, and the jersey video will definitely be one of them. Hell, he did put on one of the greatest performances of all time. Will Evan Rodriguez be a third liner? I would say that's the most likely thing, but I do think there's a world where you potentially see him get a shot in the top 6 too. There's a lot of options. Sonny Maida said he wants to bring in the best players he can at the best value and let Sheldon Keefe and his staff figure out the rest. Yeah, I think there's a chance you see him in there at some point. Jerome says the Devils don't win a playoff round, fire Sheldon Keefe. I mean, I'd imagine if I guess there's a lot of other variables there, but I could see that being a thing. I mean, people were trying to blame him for last year. I actually don't know who this guy is either. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm like, who is this guy? I guess he's like a comedian of some kind. Jerome says, hey, so I want to see what Jake Allen and Nico does with a competent goalie coach. I talked about that before. I personally don't think the goalie coach is going to make or break your goalies. It's like either you have good goalies or you don't, and we're going to find out this year. I mean, obviously, I expect the what you know you're getting from Jake Allen, but a question mark for Nico Dawes for sure with a much bigger opportunity. We'll see what he does with it. Oh, he's an SNL guy. Okay. David chimes up here, Lee. You like the Mantha signing? I do. Do I think it's a fix-all or something of crazy status? No, but for the price, I think it's a great signing. Only 2 years, under $5 million, and if he could stick in the top 6 and especially again if he could be that complimentary third guy for Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt, I think it could be a phenomenal signing. Time will tell. Mia, are you doing a live tomorrow after the schedule release or at night? I'm gonna actually do it at night because I got something going on in the day. So I will do my schedule kind of review, whatever you want to call it, tomorrow night. CNJ Dev says the ESPYs host is younger than the ESPYs themselves. We're old guys. Some of us. I'm in that group for sure. Yeah, I don't know who he is. I haven't watched SNL in forever. SJ, I like Evan Swiss Army knife like Mercer, but a little more offense. Yeah, I so far my impression of him is kind of corny as well. Randall Flag. I hope Mantha can stay healthy. Last year was his first healthy. Yeah, we talked about that too. The games played has been a knock on him. We look here. You see a lot of missing games throughout the career. Last year he played 81. If he could stay healthy, like many of the other players on this team, a lot of people were joking like, "Oh, great, just what they need, another injured guy," or a guy with injury history. I haven't watched it in years either, but I'm intrigued with the Team USA nomination for best team as well as the Jack Hughes for the play. So I'm gonna obviously watch. Why play the Cena song and not have Cena come out? Evan Spitzy, I didn't even know the ESPYs were on tonight. Yeah, they're on right now. David Chimes led all Penguins in 5-on-5 scoring last season, more even strength points than Crosby. Did that on the third line half the season. Great finish. Yeah, I posted a video of all of his goals from last season, and there was a nice mixture of different types of goals. He had some tips in front, cleaning up rebounds in the crease, some 2-on-1s off the rush, some little breakaway finish showing the hands. No trade protection. Injury prone fit like a glove. I'll just watch the 5-second clips later. Yeah, I mean, that's fine too. We live in a clip society. Jay Snow, what an idea. Don't hand out no move clause. Yeah, I do think the no movement clauses and all the trade protection and all that played a pretty big part in Fitz not being able to ultimately bring Quinn Hughes when the opportunity arose. All right, guys, I think that's it. Appreciate all of you. Big day in Devils news. And there's still plenty of off season. There is still plenty of off season. Like maybe I'll wait to see one more if there's one more if the next award, because I don't think they give the order. I'm gonna be so pissed, but I know it's coming. It's terrible. But follow me on the X. Dropping the link in the chat again. Follow me on the X. Getting more involved on there, as well as the Instagram. I'll put that up. I'm gonna wait one more award. We'll see what it is. Link in the chat for the X. Link in the chat coming for Instagram. Follow me on both of those. Obviously, subscribe for this channel if you're not already. Hit the notifications so when days like today, when the Devils just sign a guy out of nowhere, jump on here and do the live. But follow me on all these things. Put the notifications on. And you'll be here for when stuff like that happens. We're going to see what the next award is. You guys have anything else in the chat? I think the Devils are done. I mean, there's so much time, man. A lot of the doomers were saying the off season was finished on like July 2nd. People were like, it's over, man. They're not doing anything else. Just because you haven't heard any chatter doesn't mean that there's not something potentially in the works at any given time. World's Worst Gamer said, I wish we would swap out Timo time for someone different. I think you got to give him another, last year was a rough one. I didn't want to bring this up, but like something happened in his personal life where he took that leave, if you guys remember. And I forget how many games it was for. Like, I don't think we ever got clarification on what that was. And like, that could have affected him. We don't really know. I'm just kind of speculating here, but I'm expecting, he's one of the guys I'm expecting a big bounce back year from. Your notifications never work. That's interesting. Madison, I think the clock broke. Man. I would like to see him get a crack at some regular power play time. I do think you will see some improvement if he gets a crack. But he's got to get a chance. Give him some power play one time and see what he could do with it. The way he was utilized in San Jose. Moose Man's talking about the right wing thing. Put Timo on the right wing. I mean, listen, for all the people that say it doesn't matter, well, then there should be no harm in trying it. I'd be very curious to see it as well. Dire Distress says, I'll give Sonny plenty of time. He's now, is that supposed to be he's now the Lou era, or he's known the Lou era? Jason knows I don't think it's a bad thing if he's finished. Unless he moves a D-man out, I don't see any more forwards coming in. I definitely think there's at least a defenseman going out, and I would say the same thing with the forwards. I mean, just look at all the guys under contract. It's a lot of guys. A lot more guys than spots. Snow says, take Brad off the power play. He doesn't like to shoot. I mean, it's a good problem to have when you have so many players that are worthy of power play time, obviously. But I do think they, maybe need to just rotate some other guys in just to get a look. I think Grits is going to be one of those guys looking for probably power play 2 time. I think Grits might fare well in that spot. World's Worst Gamer, I watched far better wingers in NJ going way back. I mean, over the team history, the Devils have had tons of amazing wingers. Randall Flagg, don't get me wrong, I like Timo, but disappointing season. For sure, and he needs to have a big bounce-back season this year. At least Fitz is gone. Go Devils. Khalil, Ace, will they trade Hamilton or keep him? I'm pretty sure he's going to be here. I'm pretty sure he is going to be here for next season. Drum says Nico needs to win the Selkie. That would be cool. Dire Distress, separate Brat and Jack on the PK. They are the same player. They're similar in that they're both probably, they're both more playmakers than goal scorers. But, they both are certainly capable of scoring. Dr. PG Sonny is creating competition in the lineup with having a couple of extra bodies. Don't forget that there may be a PTO or 2 still to come. Oh, there's already tons of competition, both up front and on D. There's several extra players in each category. Patterson Plank Road said Brat is kind of annoyingly selective with his shot ops. SJ just need bottom 6 to score anything. Yeah, I mean, the bar is pretty low, right? In terms of bottom 6 contributions and production, and almost anything would be an improvement, but obviously the more the better. If the bottom 6 can regularly contribute, I think that's going to take a lot of the weight off of the big guns and obviously make the team a much better team overall. Zupamaki, Timo needs to step up. Maybe Mantha with a lower salary and better stats will light a fire under him. It's possible. Jack definitely could score 40. I think he had either 43 or 44. That 22-23 season, everything seemed to go right. Yeah, 43 and 56 for 99 points. 1 point shy of that elusive 100-point mark. All right, this is some dragged out video with the Currys. That's it, guys. I'm done. Appreciate all of you. Follow me on everything. Thank you all for coming out. You guys are great. I will be back soon. Just keep, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to NJ.com. Speaking of the Devils, brought to you by NJ.com. Got tons of stuff in the works for the rest of the summer. And then obviously for the upcoming season. So keep your eyes peeled for that. You go sign up for your NJ.com subscription. Yeah, a lot of videos and things coming out in the next weeks. Lots of different stuff. So just keep your eyes peeled. I appreciate all of you. And I know you guys are going to be looking to get a rise out of me after they give this best play to OG Anunoby, which again, great play, but it was not better than either one of the golden goals, and certainly not Jack's for breaking a 46-year drought for men's hockey. But I know you guys are going to be doing it, and it is what it is. But we'll see. Hopefully this thing, I don't want to watch too much of this show, but now I need to see the best team is going to go to the Knicks. It's going to be a Knicks sweep. It is what it is. It's too much hype. But that's it. That's it. You guys are great. Back soon. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, I'm out of here.